welcome back to my channel. Today is the middle of October, or Spooktober as I like to call it. And as promised a couple of weeks ago, in today's video we're actually going to talk about shadow work and some of the parts of my practice that I relate to shadow work, including also ancestors work and also the healing of the inner child wound. But before we start talking about that, there is something that is extremely important for me and I really want you to listen. When you're doing this type of work, whether it's one of these three practices together, please don't do them together, or when you plan to do something as intense as shadow work or ancestral work especially is meant to be, just make sure that you protect yourself, because there's a lot to say about how much you're exposing of yourself to the overwhelm of the intensity of these practices. And I remember last year, so if you've been watching my channel for more than a year, you will remember possibly that at the end of the month of October last year, I was kind of regretting making a rookie mistake. Basically, what I did was focus so much on especially ancestral work and reaching beyond the veil that towards the end of the month I felt completely exhausted, burnt out, overwhelmed. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in that situation, in that position. I didn't want to be a receptacle for all of these messages that were coming through. I didn't want to focus, didn't want to understand, didn't want to relate to others. I honestly felt like I had been probably because of my behavior, so it was completely my misunderstanding, completely my mistake, but I had been used so much that I had no energy left. And as I said, I should have known better because I've been doing this for so many years. And basically my rookie mistake was that I never really swam back to the surface to take a deep breath and just understand that every now and then we need to include and incorporate light work whenever we're doing shadow work. And so this year I'm not gonna make that mistake because honestly last year it was a little bit too much. And so every day I set aside at least 5 minutes, and obviously it depends on what you like best, but for me the best 5 minutes to set aside are in the morning, simply because I have more time, but I'm also probably slower in doing things even after my coffee, and it just so happens that I feel myself more inclined and more receptive to this kind of really good, positive, nurturing kind of work. So in today's video, I'm going to show you some decks that I use for my main practices related to shadow work, to inner child work, and to ancestors work. But I'm also going to show you some decks that I use for those 5 minutes in which I really just want to swim back up to the surface and take a deep breath. And so we're going to have a look, for example, at a pairing between the Soul Reflections Tarot and the Soul Mirror Tarot, because they were actually conceived to be working together. We're going to talk about catabasis very shortly and tarot related. Of course, this is a tarot channel after all. We're going to talk about ancestral healing and ancestral work in general, which is something that I'm actually doing as a deep dive with my Starlight members this month. So if you want to join my Starlight membership, there's never been a better time, because we're literally doing a lot of exercises that put us in a more receptive kind of mood in order to be able to understand the message that comes from beyond the veil. And then I'm going to present to you this book, which is the Book of Shadow Work by Kayla Shaheen, which I I like, but there's a number of things that I wanted to touch base on with you. But first and foremost, I have also received a new package from Otter Spirit. So if you remember, I have been partnering up with Otter Spirit for a while now. It's been a few months, and it's a company that is based in Monterey, California, in the United States of America, and they have a fantastic team of really lovely people I'm in touch with every now and then, and they came to me with the proposal of sending me the new package, and I was really excited about it. And I thought to myself, this is actually going to coincide with the middle of the month in which I'm going to do this video, in which I'm going to say, hey, every now and again, just set aside your dark decks, or stop reading your horror books, or stop watching your horror movies, and just swim back up to the surface to take a deep breath. And so it could not have come at a better time, because these bracelets, for example, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm always wearing these bracelets here, which are actually made out of really fantastic grade amethyst. So amethyst is extremely important because it will protect you. Amethyst and rose quartz. So in my case, I use both because you never know, because let's face it, 2 is better than 1. And so I've got my palm stone for the rose quartz that I've got right here. And I also have this new, I believe, this is a sample that I received at the Mind Body Spirit Festival in Sydney last week, and it's from Dusk. It's a rose quartz tea light candle. So I'm going to switch this on as well, just to make sure that we are doing everything possible to just be in that kind of atmosphere that allows us to take a breathing, to take a break, and just reflect on what we're doing. And at the end of the day, you will thank yourself for doing so, because it will allow you not to feel overwhelmed. Also, I have got this fluorite candle also from Dusk, and they also have rose quartz and amethyst, but because I do have the rose quartz here and the amethyst, I'm wearing it, so I did not light these two up today. And so without much further ado, let's have a look at the package that arrived from Otter Spirit. So first of all, I wanted to let you know about an initiative that I find absolutely fantastic that Otter Spirit is promoting on their website. As you can see here, there is a new selection on the 1st of the month, and you can actually have a look at 6 hand-picked gems available at a 20% discount. Now, you guys also have access to 20% discounts thanks to my partnership, so you will find the code, and also not just 20%, depending on the amount you spend on the Otter Spirit website, you may have access to 30% discount. So let's just make sure that you you click on see more on the description box below, and you will be able to see the link to their website, and also the my discount, my personal discount, let's say. So as you can see here, they also include one exclusive gemstone. If you want, you can just focus on scan this QR code, or you can visit the Otter Spirit website. It doesn't really matter. But what I wanted to draw your attention is just something absolutely fantastic. For example, in this case, you got number 1, which is a peridot beaded necklace, the lapis lazuli bracelet, which is here, the Capricorn bracelet pack mini, which is this one here, or the good luck bracelet pack, which is this one, or a Jasper bracelet mini, or even, and this is very exciting for me because you guys know me, as always, I'm always wearing a lot of rings. It is my thing. I like it when you guys call me the lady of the rings. It just really seems so cool. And so I'm also wearing amethyst and rose quartz today, just to surround myself with every kind of protective energy that I can. So they've actually introduced now, or I don't know whether it's in the last couple of months, but in any case, they also have turquoise round cut rings. So this is really interesting, as you can see, and you can get all of these ones on the 1st of the month for a 20% discount, which is always very helpful, because let's face it, let me just say something. This company is always making sure that all of the gems are absolutely top notch. And I can assure you, I am wearing these ones, these amethyst, practically every day, both of them on this side, so on my right side, and generally speaking, a couple of bracelets on my left side as well. So obviously, you know, I go out for a walk, you can sweat, it could be any kind of weather, but they still look absolutely new. And you want that because you don't want to spend maybe a little bit less, but then having to buy them again because they're not durable. These ones are actually durable because they are top notch quality. So without much further ado, let me just have a look at what they sent me this time. So they also really come in a very nice wraparound magnetic kind of box. And they always make sure to send you this kind of information, let's say card, which tells you a couple of things about the gem specifically you've chosen. So this one is the Orange Aventurine or Aventurine. So authentic double A grade. I embrace joy and limitless possibilities. So obviously this does give me the sense of fire, for example. Intention is prosperity. The zodiac signs related are Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio, and the chakra is the sacral chakra. So the care guide, obviously they also give you all sorts of tips on how to take care of these bracelets, and let's just have a look at this one. So this is the Orange Aventurine, and I'm actually going to wear them straight away because I really like the idea. As you can notice, these ones are actually the mini ones, and the mini are basically 4 millimeters. These ones I believe are 8 millimeters, but I could be wrong. But in any case, these are the two sizes. As you can see here, the difference. So we're just gonna wear it. And the second one is this one here, and it contains the lapis skin. It's one of my favorites because of the composition and the colors. So authentic. This is actually a triple A grade. I stay strong through life's changes. The intention is strength. The zodiac signs related are Scorpio, Aries, Capricorn, and Virgo. And the chakras are root and heart chakra, which is always very important. And so I'm also going to wear this one right away. And let's have a look. So this is really beautiful, as you can see, really nice and colorful kind of stones. And it actually pairs up really nicely with the Orange Aventurine. As you can see here, it's a really beautiful pair. As always, I draw your attention to the fact that there is here, I don't know if you can see because it's small, but there is a charm here that comes with all of the bracelets, and engraved on the charm there is let's say the face of an otter. So otter spirit is incredibly important for the environment. As you know me, guys, I'm always an advocate for ocean conservation and ocean life conservation. What happens is that otter spirit is the perfect company to partner up with for me because they actually care about the ocean conservation as much as I do, probably even more, and they care about otters, obviously sea otters. And so for each and every one of these bracelets that you buy out of their website, $1 out of the profit will be donated to societies that focus on the conservation of wild sea otters. So obviously it is something that is really close to my heart. And I have been to the northern part of California. I've been to Monterey, but I've also been to La Jolla, for example, where you can see sea otters, and they're just absolutely gorgeous animals, and they're really, really cute. So moving on, the third package that they sent me this time is this one here, which is Unakite. This is also triple A grade. I find joy in each moment. The intention is healing, which we all need right now. Zodiac signs are Taurus, Scorpio, Cancer, and Virgo. And the chakra is the heart chakra again. So very, very important. And also I'm going to wear this one right away as well because I really like the number 3, numerologically speaking. You guys know me, numerology is very important for me, and it refers to the growth. So we're always looking for growth. Look how cute these 3 are together. Absolutely gorgeous. So just remember to surround yourself with these kind of really positive and nurturing energies whenever you approach, let's say, the darker days of the year and also the darker parts of your practice. So going back to the decks and the books that I wanted to talk about today. Okay, so let's talk about shadow work, because I know that many of us feel really inclined to focus on shadow work this time of the year, and it's perfectly normal. So I wanted to show you, because I have myself used these decks combined a couple of times already, ever since I was lucky enough to find the Soul Reflections Tarot, which is a release by Blue Angel, and also the Soul Mirror, obviously also released by Blue Angel. These two decks are meant to be used together. As a matter of fact, you will read somewhere here, or it may be inside in the guidebook, that the Soul Reflections Tarot has been conceived to be used together with the Soul Mirror Oracle, and it does share the same authors and illustrators. So we're talking about the really lovely Sunshine Connolly. She's absolutely lovely. I had a chat with her, I believe about a year ago or something like that. She was really, really lovely. She has a great Instagram account, so I highly recommend following her and interacting with her. She's really sweet. And also the incredibly talented Anna Novais. I'm hoping to pronounce her name correctly. I know Anna is correct. Novais seems to me like the Brazilian pronunciation of her name. She is from Brazil. I know that there's a few of you from Brazil. Please let me know if that is correct or not. In any case, so because we are looking at two decks that have been created by the same team, we also expect them to work really well together. But this is a combination that has been done for a very specific purpose, and let me just show you. Okay, so this is the setup that I think works best for me. Obviously, you need to choose what works best for you. In the center, we've got the Soul Mirror Oracle, which is, this is the guidebook for it. We talked about this deck a number of times on my channel. It's also because this deck was, I believe, one of the top 10 mass market decks released in 2024. For me, obviously, and I really talked plenty about the way in which I was using it, except that at that time I didn't have the tarot deck yet. And so I remember I was mostly using it with two tarot decks that were indie though, and not exactly affordable. I'm talking about the really, really gorgeous though, True Black Tarot and the Ephemera Tarot, both by Atta Wang. So obviously with those two decks, you were looking into probably about 400 Australian dollars to have both of them. They do come with all sorts of really luxurious kind of features. So it's you pay for for what you get basically. But in case you don't have those two decks, I highly recommend acquiring the Soul Reflections Tarot, which is this one here. It's a mass market deck. It's just been released in Australia, at least by Blue Angel, and I believe in a month's time you guys in the rest of the world will be able to get this deck as well for a very reasonable price, because it is a mass market deck. Now, as I was saying, this Oracle deck is very special because if you notice, well, if you, let's say you've never seen it in your entire life, this is it. I'm just going to show you a few of the cards. They are really gorgeous, by the way. Very, very beautiful. It is this kind of art style that I really love. This card, it's just absolutely gorgeous. There is also something that makes it very unique and peculiar, and we're going to talk about it now. So as you can see here at the bottom, I'm just gonna put the card very close to the lens so you can actually see it. It says here intuition. There's nothing special about that. We've got plenty of decks. As a matter of fact, in my collection of Oracle decks, the majority of them have a keyword, because otherwise that would be a deal breaker for me. But what makes this deck special is what's underneath the keyword, which is actually now the two keyword, and one says, for example, in this case, confused / clear. So in referring to the main keyword intuition. So it basically looks at the image, right? We look at the image and we see the silhouette of a person. One eye is in the clear, so you can actually see the eye. The other one is hidden in the shadow. And then there is a half moon corresponding to the third eye chakra. And the intuition, you know, it makes you probably think about the high priestess. It makes you feel that you need to look within yourself and try and understand what your gut feeling is trying to tell you. You need to nurture your intuition in order to be able to grow, and so on and so forth. It does give you already a way to enter into the spirit of the card and read it. But this deck actually goes one step further, because with the 2 additional keywords that we find underneath, with the confused on one hand and the clear on the other hand, we kind of have access. So at least it gives us the possibility to look into light work and shadow work, or rather, in this case, shadow work with confused and light work with clear. Now, what I always do is I recommend this. Imagine it to be the 2 faces on one coin. I do have a coin here, for example, but it's a yes and no, so it's not necessarily like this one, but it is easy to imagine as an example. It's on one face it will say yes, and on the other face it will say no. So imagine it's basically the same thing. This oracle card is telling you that intuition can lead you sometime astray, as in confused, or it can just make sure that the path in front of you is clear. As you can see, one thing will lead you to advancement, because obviously when you have a clear path ahead, you just go on, or you're supposed to at least. And the other one will actually give you a little bit of an obstacle, because if you're confused, the path is uncertain, you're not clear on where to go, and so on and so forth, you probably better stop. You know, if you don't know where you're going, just stop there. And maybe, you know, sometimes you'll also be able to go backwards, or at least wait for a bit of clarity to come your way, but just don't go ahead blindfolded. So this is basically the possibility, or the way in which I would say you can work using this oracle deck. So because the clear word, you can't see it now, but it's on the right, and the confused is on the left, what I generally do, I imagine 2 paths coming out of this deck, one going towards the right and being clear because it's the light work, and one going towards the left and being dark because it's confused, and that's the shadow work. And then I literally look at the tarot deck and the tarot cards that are either right or left of the oracle card, and I will read them according to either light work, if that's the one on the right, or shadow work, if that's the one on the left. I hope I'm making myself clear, but this is the way in which I use this deck, and I can assure you 100% it works like a charm. So this is also giving you the possibility to do what I was telling you to do before. Swim back up to the surface every now and then to take a deep breath if you're doing shadow work. Don't stay down, don't stay in the darkness for too long, please. Just, I kindly ask you to consider this. We need to protect ourselves. Surround ourselves with amethyst, with rose quartz, with people that love you, that really want to protect you, that they think that you're the world to them, because that will give you the nurturing vibes that you will need in order to to go through the taxing times that sometimes you have to go through when you're doing dark and shadow work. So if you go on, and by the way, these are the 2 guidebooks, so the Soul Mirror and the guidebook to the tarot deck, and they look really cute together, so I just wanted to show you. I really like both of them. Obviously the one with the tarot deck is longer. So let's just set them aside, and I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to flip the cards, and so, we can see how it works. So basically, we've got intuition with clear and the world. So obviously this is telling you when you do light work and you choose the correct path, because you can actually see through to the end of this path, you reach the completion of your work with the work card. Instead, on the other hand, when you're confused, it leads to the Queen of Wands, and sometimes the Queen of Wands will be the performer. It will be the one that tells you that you need to have charisma, and it works hard. She works hard to get to that point on the stage in which she actually feels confident, and she communicates emotion. She makes people feel things when they look at her. So there is, that, because it's in the shadow work, it may tell you, it may ask you why do you sometimes feel like you have to impress others? Do you sometimes feel like you need to be approved by others? Then you need their approval. Do you need to be validated by others? Is your existence dependent on the others' validation, and so on and so forth? If these sounds like a little bit of triggering questions, it is because they need to be. Okay, when we're doing shadow work, it's not for the faint of heart. If you don't feel like you're in the right space of mind to do so, don't do it. Wait, you don't have to. It's not because it's October that you have to do shadow work. There's only, so many other things you can do instead. If questions that feel kind of strong for you, it means that there is some works that need to be done. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to do it right now, but it is the kind of thematics that you will probably have to work on, okay? So this is one idea, for example. Then moving on and just flipping the cards, as I said, you also need to be really focused. That's why, generally speaking, I like to light incense sticks because they create that kind of smoky atmosphere that I associate with being really, really focused and not distracted by anything. I'm filming a video right now, so I am obviously not focused on what I'm doing, but this is just to give you an example of an idea. So devotion is getting different on one side and passionate on the other. Passionate with the Ace of Cups, I think it's quite clear where the light path will take you to, you open up your heart to something passionate, and that will give you the sense of being a part of something, a couple or a group of people, or a family or a community, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, we've got indifferent. So the shadow path with indifferent, where does it take me? It takes me to the Four of Pentacles, because indifferent and the Four of Pentacles are kind of at odds. In the Four of Pentacles is anything but indifferent. You're really keeping everything close to your chest. If it's an investment, it's literally the equivalent of putting your money under your mattress, because you don't trust anyone else. You don't want to anyone else to know about what you're doing. You don't trust them. You feel kind of lonely, really, and that brings about a sense of being detached. Perhaps that's that indifference. Indifference, though, for me, is that you reach a point of the 4. So let's not forget that numerologically speaking, the number 4 is also referring to the most stable geometrical form, which is the square. Have you reached a position in life in which even what's around you doesn't make you happy anymore? Have you reached a point in which you may have that stability, because the Four of Pentacles tells you about stability, especially when it comes to finances. So have you reached a sense of stability that you're not even interested in risking and investing anymore? Out of metaphor, have you reached a kind of stability in which you don't even feel like going out anymore and feeling the wind on your skin, for example, going on an adventure? Everything needs to be closed up for you. Is it something that resonates for you or not? Because this is the part that leads to the shadow work that needs to be done. Shadow work, apology if I haven't said that at the beginning, I probably should have. To me, I know that it's not shared by all the tarot readers, but to me and many others, it means having the courage to go within yourself very deeply, and having the courage to look at what's in shadow, what's hidden, something that it's there but you don't necessarily want to look at it and you just push it away. Having the courage to bring it back up to the surface in such a way that you actually can use the light, because if you're still considering something when you don't have light, you don't see it properly. So bring it back to the surface, have a look at it, consider it, reassess it, and then decide, is it something you want to keep? Because sometimes there is something that is very valuable to us, we might want to keep it and we want to nurture it. So if that's so, keep it with you and make it grow. If that's not the case, then you can actually move on and release it. So release what no longer serves you. That's literally my definition of shadow work. I know that there's others that do it in slightly different ways, fair enough. It's always interesting for me to know what others do, but that is, or probably a little bit oversimplified, but that is what I do when I do shadow work. So moving on, I'm not going to do all of the cards, obviously, because otherwise we're going to stay here forever. But there is receptivity with the Satisfied and the Five of Pentacles. That is very clear. So have you brought things in such a way with dissatisfaction that no one is happy with you, and at the end of the day they actually chase you off, they chase you away? You're being cast away because there was absolutely nothing that resonated between you and your community any longer, and you didn't even feel part of the community, and that community did not even feel like you were one of them any longer. What has happened? Was that you? Was it them? And then on the light side, for example, we got grateful with the Star. So obviously grateful for the guidance that we receive, and so on and so forth. So obviously there will be cards in which maybe the words or the keywords from the Oracle deck will not necessarily resonate with you in the combination with the tarot cards. There will be cards instead in which the link would be like a snap of a finger, it would be immediate, it was just click, because it will feel right. When that happens, trust me, focus on that, because that may actually be something that really resonates with you for a reason. There will be a reason, and you will want to do some work related to that. Personally, I absolutely love this card because there is this really cute kitten. So the curiosity obviously is related to the cat. I really, really love this. And so try using these two. As I said, the Soul Mirror Oracle has been available for a while. It is a mass market deck, so obviously more affordable than an indie deck. And when it comes to the Soul Reflections Tarot, I'm pretty confident that it is available now on the Blue Angel website in Australia. I'm not entirely sure that they ship to the US because of the problem that we all know about. That sometimes they tell it is so, sometimes they tell no, it's not so, it's actually still there. I have no idea. But in any case, it will be available through a distributor. There will be distributors, I'm pretty sure that there will be very soon. So hang in there, and you will be able to use it very soon. But this is my perfect combo, the combo that I highly recommend for doing shadow work, because it lets you do shadow work at the same time, though it also lets you do light work. Something that I wanted to talk about is this book, the book of shadow work by Kayla Shaheen. It says here, Unlock the True You, the Master Guide to Inner Healing and Authenticity. I like the fact that when you have to choose a couple of keywords related to shadow work in order to explain it to others who are not familiar with it. When you talk about inner healing and authenticity, I would say they're excellent keyword chosen to explain it. That it's not the only two keywords that I would pick. By no means do they cover the entirety of the practice that is called shadow work, but to this day and age is probably one or two of the most important topics that you can explore with shadow work. So this one is, to to be honest, I don't know this author, but it says here that she's also the author of the Shadow Work Journal. So I'm going to read this book. I haven't read it yet. It did catch my attention for a couple of reasons that I'm going to tell you, but if I read it and I like it, I'm probably going to buy the journal as well, because let's face it, it's just easier when you have a journal with prompts. You know, with my members, I do a lot of this type of work. With my Starlight members, we've been doing it for almost 2 years now. So every month there's a different theme. This month of October, Spooktober, we're focusing on ancestors' work, and I'm just going to tell you a couple of things related to that later. But I generally create my own prompts. I give out a lot of journaling prompts, a lot of meditation prompts, a lot of ritual practices that you can do at home to just create a kind of environment that is more conducive to a certain type of work. But when there's a journal that is actually already doing that for you, I mean, it saves me a couple of hours. So that would be very interesting. So I was just looking at the table of contents here. And so how I got here, okay, that's the introduction. What is shadow work? How do you start? I do want to know what this author in specific means with shadow work, because as I said, it's a well-known category, but it could have different nuances depending on who you speak to. So obviously it needs to resonate. A field guide to the emotions, shadow work and spirituality. I like it that we're looking at spirituality as well without necessarily touching on religion. A call to quest. I was really intrigued by that because I thought to myself, that is something that resonates with me. I always think this is just me. I'm weird. But whenever I picture myself starting, preparing myself, rubbing myself up to do shadow work, I actually think about the Knight of, generally the Knight of Swords, because I'm an air sign, but generally speaking about a knight, I see myself as a knight because the knight is the one that implies movement, but also implies that it needs courage. And, you might need courage when you do this type of work. The shadow in intimacy, that's obviously very intimate, very interesting. The social shadow, that's probably what made me buy this book. Because I believe that a misnomer of shadow work is, or let's say only a small part of shadow work is related to your role within your own life. Shadow work is meant to help you by locating you in society. It makes you understand what your role in society is, and it brings back to the surface a number of issues that I may have when thinking about my role in society. So it's never really disconnected. It may feel like it's something that you do just for yourself and you need to be by yourself, but ultimately you always need to remind yourself that you're not an island, unless you live in an island and by yourself, which is very rare. And in that case, you wouldn't be able to watch this YouTube video. The technological shadow, really cool. So the social shadow was something that I thought was necessary. The technological shadow was something that really intrigued me. And then the integrating the shadow, obviously, you need to propose some kind of a solution. So I'm going to be very interested in your opinion. If you have this book, if you read it already, just let me know what you think. I'm not expecting something perfect. I mean, it was very cheap and it's not massive. It's 226 pages, not including the notes, and the font is so large that I can read it without my glasses, which is something that hasn't happened in a while. So I'm very excited to be able to read this book without my glasses on. So in any case, that is something that I wanted to show you. Now, moving on to another part of the, let's say, the practice that I wanted to talk about today. It's something that prompted everything related to ancestors' work. which is something that we're doing with our Starlight members, as I said, but also because I also bought Catabases by R.F. Kuang. Now, R.F. Kuang is a bit of a hit and miss for me because I loved Babel because everything related to language and the origin of words and the etymology of words for me is extremely interesting, and I actually tend to like longer books. I'm kind of a weird person for it. I know that no one loves a 600 pages book, but I actually kind of like it, especially because when I do enjoy it, I don't want it to end. So 230, 280, 300 pages for me is too short. I want to be with the same characters for as long as possible. So 600 pages is good. Not when you hate it. When you hate it, then in that case I would DNF it. I have not started this yet. I know that it's referring to a descent into hell, and I think it's going to be incredibly interesting. As I said, R.F. Kuang is a bit of a hit and miss for me because I loved Babel. I did not necessarily love Yellowface. So I think that in some cases she's self-projecting. She's writing about herself, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would like her to be a professional novelist enough to be able to write different characters throughout her books. Because otherwise it feels like, especially here, I did read a couple of reviews and there's a lot of people thinking that one character in particular, I don't know the names, okay, I don't know the name. Well, in any case, Alice, sorry. So a lot of people say that Alice is R.F. Kuang, so she once more wrote herself into the book. There's nothing wrong with that, as I said, but I might want to actually see her moving on from there and tackle aspects that are not necessarily something that she has seen or has lived in her life. Definitely the descent to hell sounds like something that no one has lived to tell the tale, so it's something that's going to be really interesting. But when I was thinking about this, it kind of prompted a bit of a giggle for me, because I was thinking about when we think about Ancestors' work. Okay, look, obviously it is Spooktober, right? It is Spooktober, so sometimes it will allow me a kind of a giggle here and there. So what if the ancestor we're trying to reach is not in heaven but is in hell? You know what I mean? So it's kind of a that's, you know, buying this book and wanting to read it kind of prompted me that kind of thought. So I don't know, we'll see. In any case, I wanted to unbox together with you today this deck, which is by Rockpool. It's actually been released, I believe, a month ago, at least in Australia. This is called the Ancestral Healing Oracle. And ironically, I'm actually going to look at this one with my Starlight members for this week's video, which is about Ancestors' work. This one is by Inna Siegel and it's been illustrated by Gianna della Grottaglia. I cannot tell you the number of decks that I've got with this duo, and some of them I like, some of them I think they're a bit too I don't know, maybe from an artistic point of view they just don't really resonate with me. I have no idea with this one because I have not seen it, but let me just quickly open it. Okay, so here we are. Rockpool, as I said, and I believe that this one it's because it opens like that and it's slightly larger. This one is probably one of the more expensive oracle decks that I've got, and it's also because this one is a new release. So in here it says healing from ancestral trauma involves transforming past wounds into seeds of strength and wisdom. Yes, I would definitely see that as being the truth. Transforming past wounds into seeds of strength and wisdom. It's very difficult. It feels like, said like that, it feels like it's something that you should take for granted, which is absolutely not. But I do recognize that the process is basically that. And this is the guidebook, and you know, like any other guidebook out of this series, I don't know whether it's the Corita series or not, it does look like one of the deluxe decks by Rockpool. More or less the amount of information that we have per card is similar, as you can see here. So we've got a thumbprint in full color of the card, then obviously the title, the subtitle, and then we've got a little bit talking about the card itself and the healing practice. Now this one could be interesting actually, because this is actually what we're going to look at with my Starlight members in this week's video about ancestors work. So healing practice in, for example, card number 4, which says tune into your masculine lineage, explore new horizons. For healing practice here says reflect on any limiting aspects you picked up from your masculine line. Is it confusion, procrastination, financial struggle, fear of taking action, or a sense of failure? Write down the positive and limiting qualities of male family members who impacted you. What would a younger you that was impacted by your male influences look like? Ask this part to express what it is ready to let go of. Then imagine connecting with your wise masculine self. Give this part new suggestions about how you can move forward and create more success and abundance. Energetically embrace the younger you and allow it to assimilate within yourself. As you can see, it is very interesting, and that is what interested me when I was kind of browsing this deck to see whether I wanted to buy it or not. The healing practice, it's short, it's just about a paragraph long, but it can actually pack a punch. It can actually really give you you know, the seed of a really interesting kind of healing work that you can do. And hopefully so if you're a Starlight member, you will actually see on the Thursday this week. On the Thursday, I always post a video for my members, Tuesday, Thursday, and sometimes even Friday. I do a lot of videos for my members. But if you're a Starlight member, this is the week in which we'll talk about the healing practices out of this deck. You don't need to buy this deck. As I always say, I would never push anyone to spend money they don't want to spend. But let's have a look at the actual cards. As always, I don't know why they keep on putting this one on every single deck. I mean, they could just put a QR code somewhere. You know, okay, it will be less paper, you know what I mean? And okay, ribbon, yep, all good. And let's just go here. These are the cards. They are gilded. It's a matte gold gilding, which I like a lot more than the glossy one. So there is something that I'm not 100% happy when they have everything written on the side. So I always have to do like that, but it's okay. It's not a deal breaker. It's just me being picky. So it says here, explore your relationship with your mother. That would be an interesting one for me to do. Okay. Tune into your feminine lineage. Really beautiful. I don't know if you can see properly. Really beautiful. Explore your relationship with your father. That's another one that is going to be so much fun for me. I'm so looking forward to do that. Tune into your masculine lineage. Absolutely. Befriend your inner child. That's actually really beautiful. Learn from family's patterns. Know you are worthy. Start living fully. Sorry that I'm keeping them like this, but I just want to be able to to read. So there's all these messages, and obviously these titles on the cards are very evocative, but they're also very eloquent in the sense that they already give you an idea of what you can expect when doing the healing practice as described in the guidebook. Explore family healing, for example. See the phoenix reborn. Absolutely. Ask the archangels for help. Gain courage from your family. Strengthen your weakened masculine. Listen to your inner guidance, and so on and so forth. So really beautiful cards, really beautiful images as well, very evocative. As I was saying, look at this one. Wow, which one is this one? Prepare to be tested. Might be really interesting. Let me just quickly read out of this one, because I have not seen that one before, and it could be really, really interesting. So number 31. It's always easier to find them, by the way. I'm just going to focus on the healing practice. Reflect on each challenge that comes up, and then meditate on finding a blessing or opportunity in each difficult situation. The opportunity that is approaching is truly important, and working with it can assist you to discover more about your life purpose and build your determination to follow your soul's guidance. A powerful thing to contemplate is how you can use your difficulties to develop more wisdom, compassion, and ultimately love. Yeah, I like it. I would have to agree with that. So, really beautiful deck, very interesting, very excited to see how it works. You know, sometimes it might be a really gorgeous deck, but if it doesn't work very well, then it doesn't really resonate with me. I mean, these would not be decks that I buy because they're collectible items. These are mass market decks. It's true that some mass market deck does go out of print, but I don't expect these ones to go out of print, to be honest. And then what are we going to talk about? Okay, we talked about the ancestors work, we talked about shadow work and light work, and also I wanted to talk about what I do when it comes to, let's say, healing the inner child wound, which is part of what I call darker, let's say, work in my practice. And I do that in the month of Spooktober. So these are all decks that, unfortunately, these are all indie decks. None of these ones is a mass market deck. However, when it comes to the Poesis Oracle, which is this one here, the English version is indie, but the French version is actually mass market. So if you're French, you'll be able to get this deck for a mass market price, basically. So then the Reclaim Oracle, we all know about this deck, absolutely fantastic. It is still available, I believe, and also they do regularly reprint. So if you don't have one edition, you have another one, it doesn't really matter. The Vessel Oracle, I still want to believe that it's still available, also in the deck. And the Dark Days Tarot. Now, the Dark Days Tarot, you don't often see this deck in my channel. Why? Because it's square, or almost perfectly square. And it does pose a little bit of a problem for me to shuffle. It's just me. It's just me being goofy and cumbersome and you name it. So, but that's one of the reasons why I don't talk more about this deck on my channel. This is all about an inner child wound, one very specific one. Again, if you're a STANHOPE member, you will remember we've done a lot of extensive work about inner child and healing the wound of your inner child. For me, is all related to my the connection between mind and body, basically. I have a lot of trauma, body shaming trauma, from when I was a child. It was, a different decade to be born in. You were supposed to be in a certain way, and if you were not, then you were shamed. You were told that you were too fat, your nose is too long, and you have a double chin, and you have moles on your face, and why don't you lose weight? It's not that difficult to lose weight. See, you know what? It's becoming boring. I mean, nowadays, I know that, especially if you're in your 20s, it would be difficult for you to understand how jarring and hurting it was for people from my generation to be born in the years in which everyone looked like a rake, basically, because they were all so skinny, and you were not the skinny one. I was not the skinny one. And so even when someone wanted to pay you a compliment, they would say, look at you, you're really eating a lot. And to me, I don't care now. You can see that I'm laughing about it, obviously. But back then, it would have been, people would actually react in a really bad way when they were told that. And a friend of mine, unfortunately, became anorexic because her dad told her, "Oh, you're really plumpy, you know, you're really plump." Oh, and he meant it as a kind of a compliment, as in, "There's so much of you." But she really took it as in you're overweight, and that created a trauma, and she spent, well, I think the best part of her life just having really bad issues with eating. And yeah, it's true, it happened. I love it that nowadays everyone is so much more relaxed and accepting, because, you know, the stupid standards, that's what they are. They're stupid standards. And we all look beautiful. And it's something that it's very nice to see it in the world right now. And I also think that people like me that grew up with this trauma of constant body shaming and constantly not be able to fit into clothes, and it's so tiring. You know, it is very tiring and limiting in experiences in life. And so I like it when I can go to Asia, I can just wear shorts and I really don't care, and a baggy t-shirt, because, you know, I don't care, because I know that I can be myself and I can actually focus on something else and spend all of my energy on something else, and not trying to, you know, look like a rake, which is what I was told that I was supposed to look like. So these are the decks that I use for healing the inner child wound. So obviously it's a very specific kind of work, but I'm just going to show you very quickly the setup that I use. Okay, so this is the setup that I use for this specific part of my practice. So the tarot on top, just one, not two groups of cards, just one stack. And then the Reclaim Oracle on the left, the Vessel Oracle on the right. And not always, but if I do incorporate the use of the Poesis Oracle, then it will be here. The reason why I'm saying not always is because the Poesis Oracle for me is more related to that part of my inner wound that is, it starts on the body shaming, but it's reflected on my mind, because obviously you form patterns related to the body shaming. There's no two ways around that. So obviously this is referring more to the mind. I don't always use it, but when I do, I use it. I put it here. So there's a reason why I put the Reclaim on the left and the Vessel on the right, and it's because I look at the, let's say, the Reclaim Oracle as the triggering one, the one that will allow me to go deeper into the part of myself that I don't necessarily want to face. And I always incorporate one pull from the Vessel, because the Vessel Oracle for me works like the light Oracle. So the shadow with the Reclaim, the light with the Vessel. The colors themselves, they also suggest this kind of use, because we got black and light pink exclusively when it comes to the Reclaim Oracle, and we got white and some other light color like the pinks, and also I believe just sometimes the blues, the greens, etc. with the Vessel. But generally speaking, you will see that this is a much lighter kind of Oracle decks. It is at times a little bit whimsical, a little bit weird, but it's not dark. I would really not include it. I have enough dark decks to know which ones are the dark ones and which ones do not belong to the dark groups. And so this would literally help me understand what I want to achieve and how I can achieve it. And then, as I said, the Poesis at the bottom, if I want also to involve that connection between the body and the mind. And for example, here I would see the Hanged One. So the Hanged One is the suspended one, and it's got many meanings, but for me it would definitely refer to the fact that you're not coming back down because there's something that is interrupted, there's something that is suspended, something is unfinished. And so what is this unfinished? Why is it something that I cannot get over it? You know, something that really I cannot accept. Well, let's have a look at this one, the belonging. I know that I'm doing this specific work, so I already know that I'm looking at my inner child when I already know that in the main part of my wound in the inner child is related to body shaming. So why is this belonging coming up? It's coming up because it's telling me that I was told that if I didn't look a certain way, and I didn't look a certain way, I would never belong. You will always stand out. You would never, be accepted. You would never be loved. You would never be taken care of. There will never be affection around you. You will be looked in a certain way your entire life. Well, you know what? Can I just say something? Tough chance, because I'm already a natural blonde, and I'm not saying it is, oh, look at me, I'm a natural blonde. When I was little, I was a redhead. It's because my hair, obviously going gray as well, went lighter and lighter and lighter. But when I was little, I was a redhead. You imagine being a redhead in Italy. Of course you stand out. Like a sore thumb. Redheads stand out like a sore thumb anywhere apart from maybe in Ireland. But I can assure you that in Italy, even though it was northern Italy and there were a lot of blonde people, a redhead was standing out. I was told all sorts of things. I was told that redheads stink. I was like, maybe, I don't know. And I wasn't able to just push back these bullies, because I was actually considering what they were saying to me, and I was thinking, why they're telling me this, and maybe they're right, maybe I do stink. No, because it's redheads stink. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I did take a shower. I was told that you will look old when you're 30, because all redheads look really old when they're 30. Okay, fine. I was like, but what can you answer to that? Or I was told that I'm really a mean person. I'm a mean person and I'm associated with the devil because I'm a redhead. And these were obviously all sorts of things that, kids will be mean to other kids, so there's part of that, of course, but it was part of a collective sort of belief that obviously it is what it is. I mean, I wasn't necessarily wounded because of that, but it was part of everything. And it's also because obviously back at home there was this constant criticism of my body shape and body shaming. So obviously it was part of some sort of a corollary to that was that at home I was told that I needed to lose weight, and when I was going out at school I was told that I was mean. Because I was told that I was stinking because redheads stink. So it wasn't the best childhood when it comes to these kind of things. But in any case, I've done a lot of work on that, and let me just tell you, when it never ends. It's something that you will always have to do. Inner child wounds healing is something that never stops. But it's also a good thing. And when you just do it because you believe in it, it becomes really important, because it also makes you feel, it creates positive patterns that slowly are supposed to replace the negative patterns. So when you're hurt in your inner child wound, you keep on thinking that, yes, it's true, you do look in a certain way and you should look different in order to be loved. You cannot be loved if you keep on looking the way you look. So that's a negative pattern. Using these stacks is all about move on. The vessels, like, you know what? The kids that were telling you these sort of things, even your dad that was telling you that you wouldn't never be loved by anyone because you look too big. Just move on from that. They were wrong. People can be wrong. People can be mean. Just move on. How do you feel? Look at your life. And this is really creating a positive pattern that has slowly replaced the wrong one, the hurting one, the jarring one that was present at the beginning. And I love the fact that when you look at this, I don't know if you can tell, because I might have to do this. Okay, in here, the keyword to this particular card in the Poesis Oracle is actually guide, but the indication, the finger is actually pointing this way. So everything is telling me, you will belong, don't worry, just move on. And so, you know, doing this kind of work really is beneficial, or at least has been beneficial for me, and it keeps on being beneficial for me. And you can do this in your own way. And obviously you don't, if body shaming was not part of your own inner child work, obviously there might be something else. I mean, not everyone has had the same type of childhood, which is absolutely fine. But you will see that this type of work will definitely help you, because as I was saying, it will give you the possibility to replace slowly, because it takes time, but you will be able eventually to replace those negative patterns with new and positive ones and nurturing ones, and so on and so forth. And that is something that I really like to show, because as I was saying at the beginning of this video, it is very important for all of us to understand that we need to face the darkness. And now that it's Spooktober, perhaps we feel like we have the possibility to do so this month, but never forget to swim back up to the surface and just take a really deep cleansing, nurturing, oxygenating kind of breath, because that is the most important thing to do. When you're doing shadow work, never forget to accompany that with at least 5 minutes every day of light work, and surround yourself with very positive and protective energy, such as I was saying, amethyst and rose quartz, and in this case flora. I've got all my candles here, and you do you. Obviously you don't have to use exactly what I'm using. So that was it for today, and let me know what your practices are when you look at shadow work and ancestors work and inner child work, because I'm always interested to read what you guys do, especially if it's different from what I'm doing. But for now, I'm saying thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in a couple of days. Bye.